Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where this probe here is in orbit over Eve, barely visible next to the sun right there. We were in a pretty high orbit, just finished going all the way around, getting science from every biome that we could. Took a little while because it was a 72-day time warp, but just to be sure, I'm gonna do this one last time. Transmit that data. And I'm just going to physics warp it because it's going to take a little while for it to actually transmit all of the data. Okay, it's actually done. It's a lot slower when you don't physics warp it. Although our solar panels all are in direct sunlight with this attitude, so that's actually fantastic. So, we are pretty much done with this probe. At this point, it just joins our constellation of communication satellites. So, I'll show the ComNet here, and we can see that it can provide a nice link between our satellite in between Kerbin and Duna. It also provides a decent link between Kerbin and Duna when they're at opposite ends of their orbit, like they are right now. So, it's a pretty good place for it. I think this is completely fine, so let's head on back to the Space Center and see just how much science we ended up getting. I'm not sure how much that was. With some, we're at 126? That doesn't seem right. How much do we need for the 160? That's exciting. Okay, that's not as much science as I was hoping for. Can we maybe do a contract to get the science? Extract ore from the moon and deliver it to Kerbin. We also need to build a new surface outpost on the moon. And bring green sandstone from Minmus. We can find one of these in the Greater Flats, Great Flats, or Flats biomes. Okay. Volcanic rock from Eve. That's for surveys of Eve. Adjust in orbit, that's not useful. Satellite in synchronous orbit over Duna, it's doable, but we've already done it. New orbital station on a solar orbit. That's interesting. I mean, we do need to rendezvous two craft next to each other. That could potentially be an interesting thing to do. It wouldn't get us a whole lot of science, of course. Ore from the moon wouldn't either, unless we don't really have a huge need for funding anymore, right? So maybe we should, let's see, that takes 5% of our reputation gains. Let's go ahead and ditch the fundraising campaign. And for right now, let's start doing outsourced R&D. Converting funds to science, because that is, at this point, I think more important. And I think the max we can do right now is a 25% commitment. Yep. That's 24%. That's 26%. There we go. That's 25. Okay, we'll accept that. There we go. Now 25% of our funds income is going to be converted to science. That is to say, every 12,000 funds, we'll get a science. So that then means that if we are going to do, say, this plus this, that would end up getting us a fair amount of science. 8 science for that, plus 8 science for this, plus a little bit more science from the surface. I think that's doable. So let's go ahead and do that then. We're not quite back to Kerbal R&D program, but we will get there very soon. Well, I mean, this is maybe a little bit of Kerbal R&D program. So we're going to go ahead and use the Flee-2 base core, but we're going to need to modify this thing a little bit. Like, this is not great. I can tell you that right now. So we're going to take off these solar panels and this guy right here. Do we need anything special in our surface outpost? We need 2,000 units of ore. We have to mine ore, though. require 450 units of fresh ore, so 2,000 units of ore. That's a lot of ore. Let's search for an ore holding tank. How many units is this? That's 75. That's 300. I mean, empty, these things don't weigh very much. But this is going to be pretty tall. Okay, well, we can definitely ditch this section here. We don't need this crew container. So this holds 300 units. We need to have 2,000 units of ore in our outpost. But we only need to recover 450 of that. So if hypothetically we had something like this, and then atop each of these we had an additional ore tank. Let's see, this would be 3 times 4 is 12, so 1,200 plus another 600 would be 1,800. We'd need another 200 units of ore. So something like this would be what we would need. And of course we'd want all of this to start empty. And these out here would get ditched. Like, these would not be recovered. So we'd want to make sure that we can flow the ore in. And I'm going to test that before we launch this. But I'm also going to go ahead and put a fairing on this thing. One of these guys, specifically. Okay, we're going to... I'm just going to cancel the build on the fairing right now. That is not what I wanted. No, just sit there. There you go. I want these solar panels to be maybe a little lower. Kind of like this. Also, can the pilot actually get out of that? I feel like they can't. And furthermore, I feel like they should be able to. So I'm going to modify this here to be more like this. Now we do have science experiments in there, which is all well and good. Do we actually need an antenna on this thing? Yes, we do need an antenna. Oh wait, a facility supporting at least 10 Kerbals. Okay, we're gonna have to change the way that we're gonna do this then. We're gonna have to put up an actual facility there, rather than what the temporary stuff that we've done to satisfy these contracts previously. So with that being the case, I feel like we just do this the easy way. Like, we'll take the antenna off of this guy, and we're gonna have to do 2, maybe 3 launches to get this done. I didn't realize that. Okay, let's go ahead and put in that passenger back then. What am I even talking about? Hitchhiker storage module. That's what I want. No, I don't. I don't even want that. What am I even thinking? We want this, a Mark 1 crew cabin. There we go. Okay. We're going to keep this nice and light. And we're just going to do something like this with solar panels. It's going to block the windows a bit, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Also, I can't help but notice this is not the direction I wanted it to be. That better is better, but it's not right. No, I want this to be quad-coupled. No, I want this to be quad-coupled. There we go. So something about like that would be correct. And then we'd need to run the fuel line down a little bit. We'll need to move these down, in fact. No, not the whole thing. I want to just move these guys. Be about right there. There we go. Now we'll ditch this fuel line and we'll move it down here. Should do the trick. Yes, indeed it will. Okay, now we'll create a fairing. So we'll just put it about like this. Nice and small. Now I can't help but notice that this is the old Flea 2L model. So let's go ahead and ditch the kickback boosters. I don't think that's necessary. And we're going to upgrade these skippers all to mainsails. So let's go ahead and do that. If I can get in the engine tab. There we go. Okay. Now this thing's not coming back, so this should be plenty of DV to get there, for sure. I'm not concerned about that. I am concerned a bit about staging, though, so let's check our staging. That's a wee bit better. That detaches, and then that detaches, and the second stage fires, and the nose cones detach. I kind of want to shoot the nose cones into the moon. I'm gonna stick those in their own category here. And then after that, the fairing deploys, it'll already be manually deployed. We ditch the second stage and our landing stage fires. Staging looks good then. Okay. So, the wheels don't look good. I'm noticing that. The wheels don't look good at all. Let's go ahead and take that out of symmetry mode for right now. And I'm going to put the wheels there and there. And we'll just snap that into position. Perfect. Now we'll also put it there. Nope, did not mean to duplicate that. Meant to duplicate that. Then we'll snap those into position as well. That should now be perfect. Now, on the test, or rather on the launch pad, I'm going to test these wheels to see if they are going the correct direction or not. We'll see. And then we're definitely going to need a habitation module. And we're also going to need a mining module in this thing. And then we're going to need a separate craft that can come in, link up, grab 450 ore, and bring it back. That's going to be the interesting part. Okay, so let's check these. That's exciting stuff. And by exciting stuff, I mean they're exactly inverted. So let's just revert this back to vehicle assembly. And which one of these is considered front? I think these are the front. So let's go ahead and turn off steering on these back wheels. And then we're going to need to invert one set of these, and I'm noticing that this is at a kind of awkward angle. Let's just reposition that to be at the correct angle and then snap it into place. There we go. Angle good on the others. Yeah, it looks fine. Okay. So now I'm wondering which of these we need to invert, but we can do that on the surface. It's not a big deal. But I didn't even check. Okay, so when we turn to the left, we're going to need one of them to be inverted because it's going to turn right. So when we're over here, we want this one's turning to be inverted. And you are not supposed to steer at all. So your steering direction should be normal. Your steering direction is inverted. That's perfect. And yes, I'm noticing that we're turning here slowly over time. Okay, let's check our rotation. So over on the left-hand side, the rotation is correct, whereas over on the right-hand side, It is not. So on the right-hand side, everything needs to be inverted. On the left-hand side, it's okay. So let's pop on back. We'll invert this over here. So the steering direction should be inverted, and it is. Steering direction here should be normal. And then the motor should be inverted over here. And now this thing should be ready to launch. Let's find out. And yeah, this is going to take 3 launches. 4 launches, now that I think about it. I didn't realize that the module needed capacity for 10 Kerbals. That's the unfortunate bit there. Okay, we're going forward. We're going backward. Fantastic. Oh, hello. Steering isn't disabled on this guy. I'm going to go ahead and revert that once more. So back left, steering isn't disabled. There we go. And now we should be ready to launch this. However, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Subscribe for more, and next episode, this guy's going to the moon. See you all then.